Well, I appreciate you handing that back. I was just going to send you something, Scotty. I mean, these are two men, as I just tweeted, that never skip leg day. And one of the things I don't do when I'm interviewing an elite athlete is I would not be in shorts. But then I don't spend the time in the weight room that our friend Ashley Hodge does. So, Scotty, look at that text I just sent you. Wow. I mean, this is apparently big interview they did with Cameron Carr on Sikkim, and Ashley has allowed himself to be photographed with again an elite athlete. And I got to say, Scotty, it looks like Ashley is doing it, getting his workouts in. In fact, I don't know if he's flexing that calf or what's going on down there, but that's an interesting deal. But that is one of the things that I learned early in my career. When you are around and when you cover, whether it be college football or NFL, and when you're anywhere connected to elite level athletes, don't ever do things out near them. Oh, Scotty was quick. Scotty was quick on that. Scotty, I mean, you got to say that right calf of Hodge. I mean, I don't know if he's flexing that thing. It kind of seems to be popping out there a little bit. Cam Carr has huge hops and so tremendous leg strength. Scotty, I mean, I think you have to say, I mean, as much as I would never do this. I would never put my legs on camera in a situation like this. But again, I don't think I probably have as athletic legs as Ashley has here. Care to comment?
Man, I would just say, and making a very lightweight allusion to events of the week. Ashley works out, and I don't know that I would be messing with Ashley. Okay, that's just what I'll say. He looks good. He looks good.
Golly, man, I'm afraid. He's a guy. I told recently. I said, I would kill to have people kind of say to me, hey, Mosley's looking too thin or something.
You said that, and about 6 people said it throughout the course of the week.
Yeah, they were just trying to get in good with me, and I appreciate that. That is a good flattery. Will absolutely. One thing I've forgotten though, it just made me remember, Scotty. We have had access this week to Fran Fraschilla, and I have not followed up on that. So we have Scott Drew tomorrow, maybe Friday. Do we have an opening Friday? Maybe we think about getting Fran on that day. I've not been good about following him up. But yeah, I got to say, Scotty, Ashley, but see, here's the thing. He still plays pickup. This man is at least probably 6 years older than I am. And he's always kind of looked like that. Like, I don't think this is just he's just recently. And of course, I could use some help. I'm too lazy to go find, and I'm too squeamish to give myself a shot. If somebody would come over here and do it on a daily basis or however long it is, I think I'd be open to some of that stuff. So anyway, if you've got some spare, whatever that stuff is, I'd be open to it. I'd look into it. I don't think that's what doctors recommend, though. It's just random people showing up. So I'll continue to do what doesn't work, which is my daily regimen of not eating until 6 o'clock. So that part of it I've got down. But then at 6, consuming massive amounts of calories. Okay. It doesn't work, but for some reason I continue to do it. I do have one interesting thing I've tried, Scotty, which is just eating a bunch of like peanut butter. And I grind it up, just actual peanuts at the store. I grind them up so there can't be any oil or sugar or anything with it. And I eat it just pure peanuts ground up into peanut butter. I don't know, that I may have discovered something here, like a Mosley peanut butter type diet. Anyway, we'll let you know if it starts to work. I certainly think early results are not that great. All right, Scotty, I was going to pull it up here, and I hope that you saw that this morning. Tim McMahon had the story. Oh man, let's get serious. Scotty. In fact, I haven't heard the sound in a while, so I would like a breaking news sounder, perhaps. I think we'll be big time breaking news on the Mosley Show. Tim McMahon has the story this morning on ESPN.com. Now, this is not your typical, sometimes you break news, you put it on Twitter. You know, Shams Charania breaks news all the time. Now, this one had a big, nice story with layered detail after detail. And so we got the whole TikTok background kind of thing on. And boy, Scotty, this is one where I don't try to get out here and beat my chest too much, but I knew the minute that Mark Cuban sold that team that trouble awaited. And sure enough, it took Patrick Dumont, son-in-law of Miriam Adelson, about 2 minutes to go, no, we spent billions of dollars on this team. Mark Cuban doesn't continue to run everything. And in this story that Tim McMahon used to be I mentored the young man. Now I can barely get in touch with him at the Dallas Morning News. He's now with ESPN.com. He writes the story that Mark Cuban, in all his bravado, thought that he would sell this team, and because he was Mark Cuban, that they would let him keep making all the decisions. Well, he made a couple of mistakes. He embarrassed Nico Harrison. He had hired Nico Harrison as the GM. Now, Nico Harrison had tried to blame Mark for a couple of bad moves, both the Jalen Brunson, letting him get away, and then the what's that guy's name? Christian Wood was the center that they did. And so in those early days of Patrick Dumont taking over, Nico made a power move. First of all, Cuban embarrassed Nico by saying, getting everybody together and saying, don't worry, guys, you got the team together and everybody. I'm still in charge of basketball ops. I'm still the basketball guy. What did that do to Nico, who was buddies with all some of these players, and it diminished Nico? Well, Patrick Dumont, not long after that, says, I am the governor of this team. I will be making the deals. And then next thing you know, the team goes to the NBA Finals. Luka, of course, was a huge part of that. Kyrie, the rest of the team. But when that happened, Nico was smart enough to kind of position himself to be like, hey, look at what I did. Well, I helped get Kyrie in here. I helped fuel this thing. And Cuban got pushed further to the side to the point where he had zero say when Nico had Dumont's ear and convinced him that it would be a good thing to trade Luka. And so in this story on ESPN.com, all of the inner workings of what happened along the way, you start to hear about it, and you have more. Now, we all knew that Mark had been shoved to the side. Now, the good news or bad news, depending on how you look at it, he's back, ladies and gentlemen. It looks like as things will continue to fall apart in the aftermath of the Luka trade, and then Anthony Davis was trying to come back, wanted to come back with the team this year. Nico, knowing he was in trouble, needed him to come back. People started to, Dumont got involved in that medical decision. Patrick Dumont. And on that fateful night when they gave up that game to Milwaukee, after that game, Cuban was at the game and he made a beeline for Dumont. And I believe they kind of walked off the court together that night. Well, Nico gets fired the next day. All right. It makes total sense that Cuban, who was on the outs for a little while, got his way back in there with Dumont, and now he's now got the seat at the table again. Dumont is the governor, but Mark Cuban is back at the table. This is what that story says. It makes complete sense. And it's too late to save the whole Luka thing. I mean, you can just watch Luka continue to do Luka things. Watch him with the Lakers right now. Watch him have 37 points in that game last night. Watch LeBron come back and obviously have to play second fiddle to the great Luka. But Scotty, Cuban is back. He is at the right hand of one Patrick Dumont. And so that is the latest to come out of Mavericks land. And it's a lot to take in. Nico will probably never work in the NBA again. Maybe Nike or somebody like that will move him in, but he'll never be in the position of strength again. Cuban now has back to having a major voice with the Mavericks. You know, Scotty, I'm sure there's a fair amount of people in Mavericks land. And by the way, if you're watching us for the first time on Twitter today, this is kind of what we do. We do lots of Mavericks, lots of Dallas Cowboys. And, of course, I am very closely tied to Baylor. And so we do a lot of Baylor as well, okay? And so we would encourage you, if you're watching us on Twitter for the first time, to go sign up on Facebook. We have, in recent weeks, we've looked and at times have had as much as, I don't know, let's just say thousands of people have been on there watching us live. And we love that. We love that because when you start a new thing and start a YouTube thing and you never know, okay, who's out there, who's watching and all, we've been very much encouraged to find out that a lot of people have been monitoring, dropping in, and we would like to encourage you to sign up for YouTube, the YouTube channel. Now, Scotty, if I ever figure out a way like to boost and do all these things you do, I'll do it. I'll do it. All right. But for now, we've just done it in a very organic, natural way. If you said, Mosley, we'll give you can spend this much to get, 20,000 new subscribers. Would I do it? Yeah, probably. But I don't even know how that works. So for now, I can't do that because that would require me to actually be able to log on and do anything. But we did figure out how, because Scotty knows how to do a lot of this stuff, we did figure out how to get on Twitter Premium, and I now have that, which gives me the weird check mark, which honestly doesn't do much for me. I mean, I don't want to make Twitter mad, but from what I can tell, Scotty, even when I get to that point where I thought I was going to have to be able to write more characters, it still cuts me off. I think it helps in some weird way, something, but, I don't know. I don't know what it does for us, but it has gotten us to a wider audience. So I do love that. So, and then we'll decide if we want to, do anything. I'm always, Scotty, getting these options to hit the button promote or boost. And the problem is I don't know what that means. And I fear that it might hit me in the pocketbook. And I'm very protective of that right now, especially with a child in college. But perhaps if I hit promote, something good would happen. But for now, I'm gonna hold off on that. You like all these things that I'm doing? All right. So, Scotty, come in here with me for a minute. We'll do some Campus Confidential. We're going to take care of our partners, and we'll do Campus Confidential in a minute. But I'm just curious, as an MFFL, a man who's been known to put a Mavericks jersey, put a Luka jersey on, that type of thing. And we have too many people that work for us, Scotty, that are like Spurs fans, or I feel like Z might be like a Rockets fan, and Mike, I think, likes the Spurs. It's very upsetting. In fact, the founder and owner and the grand poobah of Rogue, Corey Dickman is some kind of like Portland Trailblazers.
He does a whole show for the Trailblazers. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're interesting. Although, didn't the Mavericks beat them the other night in a shocking turn of events? I think the Mavs might have beaten them. But that's an interesting team to me. Scotty, I'll tell you what it does to me. The finding out that Mark Cuban is back to having a seat at the table just reinforces my anger that we got robbed of the Luka thing. Because if he had have never been kicked out of that role,
right,
then he wouldn't have allowed something stupid like that to happen. So, yeah, while it's fun to have Cooper Flag, and I think in time that'll be a great thing, that's not going to get the Mavs anywhere this season. No. They're sitting there at 4-11, and I don't think Kyrie can save the day, and they're being very cautious with Anthony Davis. You know why that is, Scotty? I think they're ramping up to trade that guy, and they may get.
I was about to say that.
Okay,
they're already shopping AD, which is just the ultimate concession, and we all have known this since the day the Luka deal went through. But like, it's the ultimate concession that was a horrible move that was never close in equal value. And I'm with you. I feel the same. Cuban being back at the table is good, and it makes me mad he was ever not at the table. And it made me mad a week after that Luka trade. I think the first show he said it on might have been Stephen A. Smith's podcast when he went on YouTube the week after and said, "Oh, I wouldn't have done it. I would have never traded Luka." It's like, yeah, but here we are. Matt, I very famously on Pete's show transferred my fandom after that. I don't know that I can properly be called an MFFL, though that is a label I wore for a long time. It's going to be hard for me to root against Luka Doncic ever. It's going to be hard for me to root against him.
Well, you can root for the Mavericks. You could, and still root for him. Well, those two things can happen at the same time.
Well, and I guess what I'm saying is if in the, and it won't happen this year because the Mavs are awful, but if it ended up being Mavs Lakers in the Western Conference Finals, Matt, I'll be honest with you, I'm probably rooting for Luka to get a revenge series. I'm probably rooting for Luka to like stick it to the Mavs. And one day I'll be all back MFFL wearing but the only Mavs shirt I've worn in the last February to November, 9 months was my Luka jersey. I've worn the Luka jersey a couple times in defiance. I was that deal was infuriating to me. So
yeah, I hate that. I hate that. I mean, I get it. If you were a child of the 80s like me, or like I am, you cannot root. I mean, in that one game, yes, I wanted Luka to go off like he did against the Mavericks. I get that. But if you were a child of the 80s and you remembered what the Lakers Mavs became, it wasn't Lakers Celtics, okay? It wasn't even, but it was, to us, it was a massive thing. You just can't bring yourself to root for the Lakers in no matter who plays for them. But I am understanding of people like you who have ended up at that place. All right, because of the way we're structuring our 2:00, Scotty, let's take a break and then let's do some campus. And I've been really zeroing in on this Lane Kiffin thing because I want to do some Campus Confidential. We could talk college basketball if you want to, Scotty. We can go anywhere you want to go, but I do have there's some stuff happening with Kiffin and his family, and I think Kiffin could be on the verge of making a huge mistake. Let's do some Campus Confidential. Let's do it next.